2019. This is the Sunday edition of the Closing Line, NFL edition. As usual, it's me and the big man. We're going to have a lot of fun today, a lot of games to go over. 1 hour to get you ready here, right here at Sportsbook Review. Big man on campus. What's good, my friend?
Donnie, how are you? Good to see you. Wanted before we get started, happy birthday, man. Donnie's birthday today, and shout out to him. Look, let's not flood the chat with happy birthdays all show. We got to talk football, but happy birthday, Donnie.
Yeah, old man on campus with the big man on campus today. Now we'll have some fun. I do appreciate the birthday shout outs. Like after you get over like 30 years old, Jeff, does it even matter anymore on whose birthday it is?
Listen, Donnie,
going out here.
My mother and father came to me this year. I turned 30. They're telling me, oh, we're gonna have a party. I said, look, I don't want a party. I don't look forward to birthdays anymore. I'm 30. I'm halfway to 60. That means like in 20 years, I'll be 50. Yeah, I'm good. I don't want a birthday. Just say happy birthday, give me a gift, and that's it. Thank you.
No, exactly the way. And look, the birthday gifts that we're going to give out today, Jeff, are what? Trying to give out some winners, trying to give out some information. Because if you have factored in one thing here on this show, it's about setting up for game time. What happened, Jeff, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? Doesn't matter today. The inactive reports are out today. There's a lot of big names here, Jeff, that are popping up on these reports today.
Yeah, there are. And I think it was obviously figuring out if they're actually going to play or not, because we've seen with like a guy like T.Y. Hilton, we've heard all week, not going to play. He's a tough guy. He gets back there and he plays, but I guess today it was just too much. I mean, you're also looking for the Detroit Lions. Look, not exactly good news when you get Kansas City coming to town and Darius Slay's out. So yeah, Terry McLaurin out for the Redskins. So there's definitely some big ones out. And, I've told you, Donnie, and I'm going to tell you again, this is the worst NFL card I've personally seen in a long time. I had a lot of trouble with this card. I only really love one play. Last week, I think we really liked it. Week before, really liked it. But there's just so many situations, Donnie, where you're not getting the number you need, or you're getting a guy out you just don't trust. I do have a game or two where I can kind of get more interested, but we're going to have to dig in deep for try to find bangers here today, because this is a real tough card to me.
Look, Jeff, that's not the job of the hype man today. You're supposed to come out and be like, we got bangers in every single game.
Listen,
tips across the board.
Listen, I'm not going to feed you that bullshit. Look, I'm a real gambler. I see when there's great weeks. I see when they're bad weeks. I'm not one of these guys who's just going to give you a game because I might like the mascot or something like that. We're messing with our money here, guys. Let's not be just throwing it away because we want to watch the Ravens today play. You got to be – there's so many weeks of football, Donnie, between college hoops is coming up. You got to start valuing your money a little bit more, and you're not going to get that with me today.
All right, Jeff, let's get right into the card here. We got a nice full slate. We'll go over some 1 o'clock games, 4 o'clock. Maybe if we have some time, we even preview that night game here to this evening on Sunday Night Football and also the Monday Night Football game. SBR odds right now. These lines are moving. Jeff, let's take a look at 251, 252. Carolina and Houston. Allen and Watson at quarterback today. You saw all over the week. Now, all of a sudden, like, hey, Cam's going to be smoking cigars, drinking a little bit of wine, telling you he lied about his foot injury. He's not coming back to his 100%. What a fitting time for that, because we got some football games to break down here. Which one are we going to get, Jeff? The young quarterback that just absolutely took apart a weak Arizona team. You're going to level up in competition when you're going against the Texans today and their defensive secondary, J.J. Watt. We'll see if we can be able to get some pressure, but a tougher environment to play in. Now, which guy are we going to get? Because we saw it open up, 5s and 4s. Now we're seeing 5.5s peak out at Pinnacle, Jeff. 5 at Chris, the New Jersey Sportsbooks. DraftKings showing a 5.5. I put this in my Pick 6 contest earlier in the week at 4 for the Houston Texans. I still like that play because I still don't believe in the young quarterbacks. You got to show me more. I think Houston gets the job done earlier today, Jeff.
Yeah, Donnie, right away, I'm going to disagree with you. I get a weird feeling we're going to do a lot of that today. A lot of uneasiness here. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers in this game and look towards that. You look at Houston. They have been particularly poor against the run. That's a concern today when you're facing arguably the best back in the league. Alvin Kamara, I mean, he had over 7.5 yards a carry against this group. Latavius Murray had a big week as well. That doesn't bode well for McCaffrey coming in here. He shouldn't have any trouble moving the football. And Donnie, what do we know about a guy like Kyle Allen? You need to have that running game to fall back on as a young quarterback. I was impressed by the kid last week. I think, at any rate, we could agree last week, Donnie, that Arizona was a little overvalued. They didn't really give Allen much of a respect at all. And you also look at this Houston team. I'm just not sure that they're going to be real well equipped to kind of beat up what Carolina doesn't do well defensively. Carolina's been actually, oddly enough, pretty good against the pass. They've struggled against the run, and they're kind of vulnerable there. I don't know that I see a backfield here that's going to be able to kind of exploit that or anything. This just seems to me like a close game. We've seen with the Texans, they just, for whatever reason, play close games. We know that Bill O'Brien will find ways to put his paws in here and try to mess this one up for Houston. We know their offensive line's not particularly good either. I'm just not really wanting to lay points right now with the Texans. I don't think they're a particularly great football team. I think McCaffrey and the Panthers can kind of exploit some of the things that they don't do well defensively. I'll back the kid again, Kyle Allen here. I'll take the points in this one.
It's interesting, too, when you take a look at it, Jeff, because you had a mobile quarterback, more of a wide-open set last week with Arizona. We saw the Carolina Panthers front seven really collapse that offense onto itself with the Cardinals. Now you're going against another team with an athletic quarterback, so you might have a little bit of matchups. You say, you know what, last week, because, look, Luke Kuechly at linebacker, very athletic. They do have some other athletic linebackers as well. Secondary, we always come into the season saying, where the hell are the Carolina Panthers going to do with their secondary? We'll see how they hold up because, Jeff, I know one of the wide receivers you love in football, Nuke Hopkins. I mean, he's coming to town, played well last week. This will be interesting, but this is another one. We talk about the same stuff each and every week, Jeff. When you take a look at a team going on the road last week with the Houston Texans, getting points, all right, good, great effort. Now coming home, we've seen this show before, even like 2 weeks ago. How about, wasn't there, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, another young quarterback came in a couple weeks ago, played well, and if it weren't for a 2-point conversion where you ran the football up the middle, you might have beaten the Houston Texans with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there are some likely conditions here.
Yeah, this is, I'll say this right now. This is the battle of nitwits from a coaching perspective. These two are complete morons, Rivera and O'Brien. Could be down to the two worst, two most terrible coaches in the league, to be honest. This is an interesting one. Look, Kyle Allen was impressive. And look, Donnie, we have to agree. They're a better football team with Kyle Allen at quarterback. It's just that simple. I don't like Houston's defense. I think we see with J.J. Watt, he was really a product of the fact that Jadeveon Clowney was there as well. That defense isn't, I don't think, what it used to be. They don't have Brian Cushing or guys like that are going to overpower you. I like Carolina here. I think this is too many points. I'm not running the wind to lay any with Carolina or with Houston here.
No, I can hear you on that. I'll stick with my pick six. I got a good number. And again, we always talk about, Jeff, stressing of getting different odds and stuff. Yesterday, there's some information that flows out. Other books don't move on air right away. There was a play last night with the UCLA Bruins. As you could see, you could get an advantageous line. When we take a look across the board, I'll let you chime in here in a minute, Jeff. Pinnacle, -5.5 right now if you want the Houston Texans. You know what they're sitting at FanDuel, New Jersey right now, Jeff? -4. It's amazing if you just shop around, have open outlets, because sometimes these books aren't moving on air, and you can really sting them and get the best number.
I saw last night, Donnie, it was on Twitter, okay? I'm always looking for things like this. I found something that came across my Twitter account. It was a retweet from someone else. I looked into the guy that originally wrote the tweet. He basically said, Khalil Tate's not going to play tonight. Act accordingly. Guy was legit, had good info. He did one of these, like, Arizona Bearcat blogs, like one of these kind of people. And, I go to FanDuel, 6.5, still there. So I take UCLA. I mean, and it ended up 10 minutes later moving to 3.5. I got a great number and ended up cashing. It wouldn't have mattered even at 3.5. I would have won. You got to move on info. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes the info means something. And you got to shop around as well.
No, you're very well on that. Let's keep it moving, Jeff. 253, 254. Here's a good one today. Cleveland and Baltimore. We see a same little moniker coming up here, Jeff, that we looked at on Thursday Night Football between the Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. Oh, my goodness. One team's better. One team's banged up going on the road. If they don't win this game, is their season completely over? Greedy Williams is down for this football game. Denzel Ward is still down for this football game. How are the Cleveland Browns going to contain Lamar Jackson in the pocket? You got a pretty good front seven that you can deal with for the Cleveland Browns in this one going up against the Ravens. But if we take a look across the board, Jeff, we've seen some fluctuation in lines. Opened up at Pinnacle at 6, opened up at Chris at 5. Now we're seeing 7s across the board. Even DraftKings and Sugar House out of New Jersey, Jeff, even a -7.5. It is a divisional battle. These two teams know each other well. Do we trust Cleveland going on the road being banged up? They haven't shown me much this year. This is a big rise up spot. Does Baker Mayfield rise up here and say, you know what, we got some talent? This is a must-win football game here for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, we know it is a must-win football game. I mean, this, Donnie, really reminds me of, you said before the show, it was a great point by you, very astute. This reminds you of Eagles-Packers this week. I mean, the Browns need to win. I mean, they really can't afford to go to the Baltimore Ravens and lose. And, Baltimore, I mean, Donnie, we think they're really good. We like what their offense is doing. I haven't been overly impressed with Baltimore. I think defensively they have major concerns. But the problem with Cleveland is this run game ever going to get going? I mean, they've looked like one of the worst run offenses in the league. Play calling seems to be all out of whack. Is Baker Mayfield, is he starting to show some cracks? Maybe he's not the quarterback we thought he was. Look, at the end of the day, to win this football game, we know the Browns like to throw downfield. They can complete those throws downfield. They need to complete them today. I told you before the show, this just looks like a spot where a lot of people put the Ravens in a teaser, Ravens -7, the Browns stink. Recency bias is the Browns aren't a good football team. I don't know if that's a great point. I still think they can move the ball. They still have guys that can move the ball. And look, surprisingly enough, they haven't actually been that bad with all these corners and safeties out. They're going to get, I believe, Randall back, which is big news today. Getting him back at least stabilizes a little bit. They still have Myles Garrett, and this is not a Ravens defense that's at full strength either. Ravens going to go quick. They've kind of turned into that hyper-speed offense. I get a feeling the Browns come to play in this game. I think they play for their season here. I'm going to go out and say I think they win this game, to be real honest with you. But I'll grab the 7.5 points here. I think they're going to be valuable. I just don't know that the Ravens win by margin.
Yeah, I need to still see a little bit more, Jeff, out of the Browns, but I can hear you on that because now you're talking in those levels. We're not talking about where it opened up at 5, where, hey, Baltimore can sneak under the number, win by a touchdown. You're asking them to win by double digits in this football game. Let's not forget also, Jeff, they put a lot of effort last week going out to Kansas City, and for the majority of that football game, Kansas City was the much better team. So now you come back east, you got that division foe. You got a team with must-win aspirations here in the Cleveland Browns. Should be interesting. How about taking a look at the total, Jeff? Opens up 46, 46.5, but now we're seeing primarily 47s across the board right now. Are we going to see offense, or is Cleveland going to open this thing up on offense today?
Well, you have to wonder, Donnie, when do the Browns just kind of abandon the run? I mean, if it's not working, which you have to agree, the strength of the defense for the Ravens is up front. I mean, you have to wonder, do the Browns just kind of abandon it and just start throwing downfield? I mean, they're going to have favorable matchups downfield, likely. Is Njoku active, Donnie, today?
No, he's out for a couple, at least 8 weeks.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's on IR. Good call. My fault. Either way, I think they attack downfield. I think they have to attack downfield. I'm not sure, Donnie, how long you can continue to run the football and not be effective. We know the Ravens, Donnie, you look at from a pace perspective, they're the only team in the league that's running over 70 plays a game. So this has been a really good offense. This has been an efficient offense. You look at as far as touchdowns, they're converting, they're getting into the red zone, and they're figuring out ways to score the football as opposed to kicking field goals. Yeah, I mean, offenses should be bombs away in this game. I'd probably lean over here. You know
what's interesting about that, too, even depending on which way you're looking, because the one thing we always are focusing on right now is, boy, when is Cleveland going to get it together? Talented at the running back position, quarterback that's willing to take chances, but wide receivers that can win that 50-50 ball. If we take a look at the defensive side, it hasn't been all that bad for Cleveland, even with the injuries. Last week, Jeff, down everybody in their secondary. They only gave up 255 yards of passing, 90 yards on the ground versus the Jets, 93 yards on the ground, 169 in the air. Tennessee opening day, which they did get blown out, which is mostly a proponent of what their offense did. 123 on the ground, only 216 in the air. They're able to stabilize themselves in the secondary here. We're not talking, look, hey, Lamar Jackson is a dynamic quarterback, but not the super polished passer yet.
But that's I think that could be the difference in this game. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson, I think, is look, I'm not a Jared Goff guy. I said it before and I'll say it again. With all those weapons, that should be a much better offense than it is. Look, to give the Jets, Donnie, come on, to give the Jets any credit. I mean, who they have in the fucking backfield? Luke Falk. I'm good on that. I think Lamar will find some openings. We know he can run with the ball. This is also a tough matchup, Donnie, to face week to week. If you have some time to prepare for the Ravens, it's all well and good, but this is a more complex offense than some to deal with. You have that ability to throw the football. Marquise Brown, he didn't have a great game last week. Maybe he bounces back here. Lamar Jackson is a different type of quarterback to prepare for. I think they struggle a little bit, but they're getting Randall back, which is big.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too, because when you take a look at, covering the 7.5, that has everything to do with the backdoor offense. So if you're taking a look at the Cleveland Browns, if they're down 14 points, Jeff, with 2 minutes to go, they do have the weapons. They can get the football downfield and score. We'll see what happens. Let's keep it moving. NFC East tilt here, Jeff, today, 255, 256. Washington and the New York Giants. We're seeing some line movement here. Opened up early in the week, 1.5, 2.5. They're now at 3 and even higher, and rightfully so. If you take a look at Daniel Jones last week, they played well with the comeback victory over Tampa Bay, but this is more about what's taking place in Washington, who had a tough loss on Monday Night Football, a physical loss to the Chicago Bears. But now coming to this game, we saw midweek having some quarterback problems. Who's going to start? Case Keenum's foot misses practice Wednesday, comes back. He's supposed to be okay. You're now down 2 more starters on the offensive line to get dinged up in versus Chicago, with Roulier at center and also Sheriff, their guard. And now you're down your top offensive weapon in McLaren at wide receiver, who led the team, your deep threat, who had that, and we see it all the time. I'm going to tell you guys, when you hear hamstring injury with a player that is a skill position, he will not play that football game. And if he does, he's probably going to play 3 plays and sit out with a hamstring injury. So McLaren's down in this game. The points, are we expecting the Washington Redskins to come out and say, hey, the Giants stink, let's just run Adrian Peterson, 25 times in this game and see what happens? Both teams, not great on defense, Jeff, but you do still have to have some weapons from Washington's side to try to exploit that Giants side.
Yeah, and you have to remember, this Giants team is the worst pass defense in the NFL. They have been awful, shockingly bad, Donnie. They've given up over 1,000 passing yards already. Yards, they're giving up, Donnie, almost 10.5 yards per attempt. If you're watching Pro Football Focus, their coverage grade is the lowest in the league. You just have to throw the football downfield, Donnie. They can't cover deep. They have been ugly to watch. And you made some good points there. Obviously, Case Keenum with some injuries. Donnie, do we see Dwayne Haskins in this game? Could be. It could be a possibility. You have Jay Gruden, who's likely, Donnie. I know they're not saying he's coaching for his job. He's got to be better. This could be a balls-out kind of game for the Redskins. They got to go ball to the wall here. I think they have to attack a defense that's just not good enough in the secondary. And there are still some young weapons here for the Redskins. I think guys like Chris Thompson, Trey Quinn, Paul Richardson, even old reliable Donnie Vernon Davis has had a pretty solid year. I think you got to get out and throw the football. This defense is not good. And on the other side, what's the thing we found out about the Redskins? This is a bad defense as well. They've given up 30 points or more in every game this season. Yeah. And Daniel Jones, who, look, I want to add something in here. Shout out to all you fraud Giant fans who booed this kid to fucking oblivion. Now you love him, and he's God's gift to earth, and he's the savior. Listen, if you watch Duke football, Daddy, you would have knew one thing. Daniel Jones was a good football player. The reason he didn't have a good senior year is they led the country, Donnie, in drops. They just did. They didn't have the type of receivers. If you gave him Jamison Crowder like they had down there before, he'd have had a big season in his last year at Duke. They had a lot of drops. Daniel Jones is the real deal. He picks apart a bad secondary. And again, Donnie, big thing here. This is a big thing I look at. When you're looking at overs, that kind of stuff, you have to be looking at just little things. Passing play percentage, things like that. How many times are these teams just abandoning the run and throwing it? No Saquon Barkley today. Giants 5th in the league in pass play percentage. 71% of their plays, they're passing. You look at Washington, they're even better, 3rd in the league at 72%. Both these teams have abandoned the run. I think it's balls out tonight in New York. I think this is a 31-24, 33-27 type of game. I just think they are bad defense. I think it's a fun game. High scoring.
We'll see what happens in that, but there also is a counterpoint to that where they're throwing so much because they're usually both getting blown out in their football games that they're playing, as we see each and every week. So we'll see what happens, but I agree with you there. I come on all the time and talk about how the Giants are so depleted on defense, but you still do need some players on offense to try to get after it. Like I know people, hey, Trey Quinn. All right, Trey Quinn.
Well, hey, Donnie, here's the thing. That's what we said about Terry McLaurin as well. Who the fuck's Terry McLaurin?
Yeah.
I think a Paul Richardson could be that type of player for them. And here's one thing about the Redskins that I will say. You look at this year, and look, I know that last touchdown against the Eagles was kind of in garbage time, but you put 27 up in that game. You did score 21 against the Cowboys. I think if they can get in the 20s, this game will go over. Even against the Bears. I mean, and again, I think the Bears just kind of conceded defensively and didn't care much. But again, hopefully Paul Richardson can step up and be the McLaurin type of guy. I'll gladly take these two pass defenses. They're just not good enough.
Yeah, midweek of my play in the pick six contest was the Washington Redskins getting 3. I didn't anticipate, all these injuries being out and some guys popping up. As we said, McLaren, who actually wasn't, Jeff, an injury in the Chicago Bears game, was an injury in practice this week. We'll see what takes place in that football game. But hey, 1 o'clock, the one thing that you always have early in the season, Jeff, when we're talking about overs, we're not talking about the Meadowlands in like late October, late November, swirling winds, 35 degrees. You're going to get some pretty good weather up there. And again, it still banks on 2 defenses that aren't that great. We'll see what happens with the young kid Daniel Jones today. One game I don't think we need to spend all that much time on, Jeff, but there are a ton of injuries in this one. 257, 258 Chargers coming east to play the Miami Dolphins. And it's almost like the bookmakers, Jeff, we don't really know what number to set where people will just run away and say, oh my goodness, I finally can't take the team playing against the Miami Dolphins. We opened up at 16.5 at both Pinnacle and Chris, offshore at SBRodds.com. We even saw it go as low as 14. Even a FanDuel right now, Jeff, you can get minus 14 at minus 120, but the prevailing number, 14.5s and 15s across the board. The Miami Dolphins don't have a lot of talent. I'm going to say the same thing I did on the Audible all week long. If you're going to bet the Miami Dolphins, they've shown the past 2 weeks, they're going to come out, they're going to fight. They just don't have enough talent for a full 4 quarters to actually compete. I'll take the 9.5 in the first half with the Miami Dolphins. Outside of that, I don't want anything to do with this football game.
Let me tell you something right now, Donnie. You know who's back today?
Back in town?
Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, but he's not going to play though unless everybody gets injured.
He's officially active.
Yeah, but only for emergency though. Like that means like 2 plays.
Bullshit. Put him out there and play. No. He will fucking run for 200 yards in this game. This Miami Dolphins defense stinks. They can't stop the run. Why not let the guy play? Put him out there. Give him a little workout, right side. Let him play. I mean, am I not saying something here, Donnie? Why not? Why not?
No, yeah, but they don't. He's not ready to play yet. Like he shouldn't even. He came back this week to try to get. But the only reason why he's actually active is because they're so injured at running back. Where it's like, hey, like we got to make. If we need to have a running back, if Eckler goes down or somebody else.
Well, again, this is all fantasy world. But if I'm Anthony Lynn, give him 25 carries today. He'll run for 200 yards. This Dolphins defense stinks. It's like playing a high school team. Let him play. But yeah, look. This, and I'm going to say this now, Donnie, this could be the worst NFL team I've ever seen. I don't, and I'm saying that nicely. Yeah. I mean, seriously, where's this team going to win a game? I mean, they're 14-point underdogs at home. I mean, who are they going to win?
And versus an extremely, a team that's coming West Coast to East and also extremely banged up at wide receiver, at running back. It's an awful spot for the Chargers. You're right.
And again, and we say it every week, I'm not betting this game. But I gotta say, if you do like a spot, this has to be a game where the Dolphins could at least hang, isn't it?
But I don't picture like you're right. They're so inept. But if you saw the MO of the Dolphins outside of week 1 where they just got blitzed versus the Baltimore Ravens, they've hung in the first half. 13-0 to the New England Patriots, 10-6 versus the Dallas Cowboys. I think they'll hang in. But again, if you don't have offense and you're down, let's just say 7 to 10 points in the third quarter, you sort of get out of your, hey, let's keep it close. Because when the Miami Dolphins open it up, Jeff, who do they open it up to? They don't have anybody to open it up to.
And this team.
But Gesicki's a tight end, Jeff.
And this team has made it clear to all of us, including the pathetic fans that go to watch this team. Look, if you still go watch the Dolphins in Miami, of all places, that's where you live, and you decide today, I'm going to watch the Dolphins play football, you deserve to have your money stolen from you. You shouldn't be watching this team. You should not be supporting them. They've basically come out and said, we have no interest in winning. That's a disgrace and an embarrassment. If they can't come to play in any game before, what makes you think they're going to come play today? Don't bet this game. Don't waste your time with it. This team is okay with losing. And again, in the NFL in week 4, that is an embarrassment. Don't support. If you're out there and you're going to this game, shame on you. Why are you supporting this? This is disgusting. But again,
maybe they're Charger fans, Jeff. They want to win a little bit of money out there. By the way, also, Ant Fam says, Donnie, can you ask Big Man about the under in this football game? Looking at the under in this game, can you take it over with the Miami Dolphins offense? That's the question, right?
Can you take the over with them? No, of course you can't. I mean, Donnie, I'm being honest with you right now. I mean this. I watch the NFL a lot. Like I love it. I enjoy it. I know you do as well. I'm trying to come up with a player that plays on the Dolphins offensively, and I'm having trouble. Like outside of the quarterback.
Balaj, Jeff, come on. You don't believe in Balaj up the middle?
Oh,
a little Drake
action? Balaj, that former Arizona State player. But I'm serious. I'm trying to come up with guys, and Gesicki. There you go. That's your best player. It's funny, Donnie. I had a kid in my. I forget where I saw him. It might have been at some restaurant or something. We were talking about fantasy football, and he says to me, "Yeah, I need a tight end." He goes, "I took Gesicki from Miami." I said, "Well, what'd you do that for?" He goes, "Well, I went to Penn State, and so did he." So. But that's what we're doing with Gesicki now. It's not, he's a talented tight end. Yeah, if I had to play this. But then again, they could give up 45 points here. So don't bet anything involving the Dolphins. Just avoid. They don't care about winning.
No, you're right about it. And that's more time than we actually should have spent in that football game, because there's a lot better ones we can look at. And Jeff, we talked earlier in the show, and our minds usually work correctly here. And I got to tell you, it's getting interesting here. 259, 260. The stink Oakland Raiders going on the road. T.Y. Hilton's now out of this football game. Darius Leonard's not going to suit up. Hey, we can roll our helmets out and win this football game. Oh, yeah, look at that. Indy favored by a touchdown, Jeff. Not so fast. Pinnacle showing through SBRodds.com, Jeff. 5.5. Chris, 6. DraftKings out in New Jersey, 6.5. Sugar House, 6. We're now below a touchdown. You know what that means, Jeff? Oakland, if you want to back them, is going to be in this football game, and in this football game into the fourth quarter. Are we prepared to do that here?
Let me tell you something. If you bet Oakland right now, stop betting. You shouldn't be betting. You're not good enough at it. You just aren't. I mean, if you're betting Oakland at 5.5, what exactly have you looked at all week? You could have got 7 last night, probably somewhere. Even 6.5.
Yeah, 7s were available yesterday. That would be cool.
5.5 it's embarrassing if you bet 5.5. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to be honest with you. You need to be better at understanding stuff. T.Y. Hilton wasn't going to play in this game, Don. It's very, very simple. And without T.Y. Hilton, look, I love the Colts. I've bet them more than any person in America probably over the last year. I love this team, but I'm not on them today. In fact, I told you last night I like Oakland here. This one thing about the Colts that I'm real concerned about in this game, Josh Jacobs has looked real good so far. He's had a nice season. The Colts are one of the worst run defense in the league. They're allowing over 5 yards a carry. No Darius Leonard today, which is a big loss. He's the best tackler in the league, Donnie. I mean, he had the most tackles in the league last year. That's a big loss.
Malik Hooker. Yeah, man, you got a lot out there.
Exactly. That's another big loss. Malik Hooker in the secondary. And without T.Y. Hilton, you and I both know, Donnie, last year, we were always looking at T.Y. Hilton. If he's in, we're on them. If he's not out, we're not on them. If he's out, we're not on them. It's just that simple. He's very important to that offense. He's a big play guy. I get a feeling Eric Ebron has a big game here. I think Jack Doyle, those guys, I think Jacoby really looks for them. And look, they should score against a bad defense. I kind of like the over here, Donnie, to be real honest with you. I think the Raiders have some success on the ground here. I think they find ways. And I think Derek Carr, if you can get him kind of anywhere near that first game, I think the over has some skin here. I think they can move the ball, the Colts, but I have a feeling they kind of settle more along just running the football. Look, if you didn't bet the Raiders at 7, I'm not going to advise you to take it at 5.5. If you didn't get 7 or even 6.5, you just have to chalk it up and say, I missed this one. You should not be betting the Raiders or Colts game at this number.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because you're right. It is a lot to do about these numbers, but just the way that the Indianapolis offense, Jeff, I believe, is going to operate in this football game does play to me a little bit more towards an under, but also plays towards the Raiders here, because I can't imagine like the first half going. Now, look, it's still the Raiders. They're going on the road. They're never going home, it seems like, with this lengthy road schedule that they're going to have. But it's like, would it surprise you, Jeff, if like the Raiders are down like 21-0 in the second quarter? It would really surprise me in this one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We have a comment here that could be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I mean, this is really bad. Look, I don't like to knock on commenters. I'm just trying to help at the end of the day. If I come across abrasive, I don't mean to. But this is a really bad comment. I mean, basically the commenter's saying, what in the hell is the difference between +7, +6, 5, or 4? Nothing, because if they're going to be in the game, they recover regardless. I'm not even sure what to say back to that. It's so stupid. Donnie, come on. I mean, reason with me here. That is a really.
You always want the better number. Yeah, you always want the better number. Yeah.
Come on. What's the difference between 7 and 5? What the hell do you mean what's the difference between 7 and 5? A lot. That's a bad comment. You need to change your reasoning on how you think. That is not a smart thing to do. And if you bet like that, you will be destroyed in this league.
Look, you're not going to get any agreement or disagreement out of me on that. Look, you score a touchdown late, you cover the 7. I hear you, and there's still the backdoor cover in there, but switching back and forth, 7, 6, 5.5. You should have missed that number. Probably wait for it to come back, which I don't think it's going to do. But we're going to keep it moving here on the show, Jeff. 261, 262. Kansas City and Detroit. Another interesting game with a lot of injuries that are coming up. Now, late in the week, we see out of nowhere, Jeff. Oh no, Matthew Stafford's back. You're getting conflicting reports, and now you're going to people's sources, quote on sources, Jeff. Boy, this is the closest Matthew Stafford's ever come to not playing with his back injury. He's going to give it. We think it's available. What's the one thing you can't afford to have when you're going against Kansas City? Number one is a quarterback that might be not able to trade shots with Kansas City's offense. And number two, it's never a good thing, Jeff, to have your best defensive player who's a cornerback be inactive in the football game. But this also comes into it. If you missed out, you had 6s, 6.5s all week long until we saw these late injuries crop up, and then you get the 7s and the 7.5 with juice. Look, if you want to get this football game and you're just going to say, I'm going to take Detroit, they're unbeaten, they've won every game, they'll be in it at home, it's going to be a tough spot for Kansas City going on the road here, playing in a dome. I hear you on that. But the better football team resides on the other side of the field, and a lot of injuries going to be indicated. Let's also talk about the injuries on the defensive line, Jeff, for Detroit. So if you're down some of your best defensive linemen, you're down your best cornerback, and Kansas City's in town, get the hell out of here. Give me Kansas City.
Yeah, it's interesting, Donnie. Kansas City's actually been a better road team than home team, surprisingly enough. They've scored, I think, almost 3 points more on the road under Andy Reid than at home. This is a brutal spot if you're the Detroit Lions. And it also makes me sad, Donnie. This is the first week I'm not betting the Lions. I've been on them every week this season. Yeah. I've been pretty successful with it. Matt Stafford, look, I give you respect, man. You're tough. We get it. But you're also 3-0, Donnie. Do you really – if you're Matt Stafford, I get giving it a go, and you can't just concede in the NFL. But
2-0-1.
Oh, right. Yeah, they had that tie. That's right. Either way, you have to wonder what you're going to get from him. But Kansas City Chiefs, I'll continue to say it, the reason they will not win the Super Bowl is they're not good enough defensively. But I think they'll be good enough here. I think Amendola or there's another player down for Detroit as well, I want to say, on the offense. I'm not exactly sure. But in the secondary, Slay out. That's brutal.
You got Daniel Slay, Deshaun Hand, Danny Amendola, Ben Shawzall, Abushi, and Paul Perkins are all out for this football game.
Yeah, Amendola out, which is a rough one as well. Even though, you still have Marvin Jones and Gotti. They should be fine there. But, yeah, you're right. No Slay. You got the Chiefs coming to town. Overs 54.5, Donnie, in this game. It's a high total, man. Is this the game where the Chiefs play well defensively? I don't No, it doesn't. And why do I have a feeling at some point we're going to see who's the backup in Daniel Blau, I think. David Blau. Jesus. I believe he's their backup. Style. Shout out to Purdue. Shout out to the Boilermakers. This ain't Drew Brees at Purdue, Donnie. David Blau is David Blau at the end of the day. Listen, I would probably lean with the Chiefs here. And it pains you to say because I really like the Lions. There's just too many big-time injuries right now for this group. But I won't be playing this game.
Lions are a couple plays. It's funny how close the NFL is. The Lions are a few plays from being 3-0 and a few plays from being 0-3 with some key injury situations, especially last week looking at that Eagles game. But to me in this game, Jeff, Kansas City's the better football team. If you were to get 6.5, which again, we talk about, closing line. That's what the show is. It's 7 at this point. I still don't want anything to do with Detroit. Like, I just think it's Kansas City's football game.
Just some brutal injuries for Detroit. Yeah. I mean, and it's not just like, glue guys. It's like your best corner, your quarterback's been hurt all week, and Amendola, who's a nice piece who never drops the football. So, yeah, it's rough.
How about this one, Jeff? 263, 264. Pancho Villa. The legend of Pancho Villa up there with the Buffalo Bills. This is the time. Doesn't it feel like, Jeff, this is the time, if you're going to beat the Patriots, this is the time you have to. Edelman banged up, a banged up offensive line, not the same weapons you would have. No AB, he's gone. You're worried about Josh Gordon out there. I understand. You got a couple running backs banged up in the situation. Tom Brady going into a hostile environment. You're getting 7 points with the Buffalo Bills. What's not to like? Well, the problem is here, Jeff, when you take a look at who the Buffalo Bills actually beat, and then you see who actually New England beat, you say, boy, both of these teams, not too much, competitive balance over the first 3 weeks, but the way they've won games is completely different. The dismantling of opponents that New England is going over versus the we'll see what happens here with the Buffalo Bills. Singletary's not going to play in this football game. And I keep saying, well, Donnie, why would you worry about like a rookie running back? It's the explosive ability where you set up a perfectly played screenplay, Jeff, that instead might go for 10 or 15 yards with Frank Gore. That might go for 40, 50, or even a touchdown with Singletary. He's out for this football game. Do we believe in the Buffalo Bills? Is this the spot, Jeff, to take the Bills?
I told you on your show this week, Donnie, on CKG, this game for me, I'd play it on one condition. Devin Singletary plays. I saw the inactive. I'm not playing it. I need him because, again, look, Frank Gore, I give the respect to, man. The guy is a beast. He seems to always, perform well whenever he goes. How old's Frank Gore at this point? He's got to be close to 40. I mean,
like when I was a kid, Jeff, he was running for the Miami Hurricanes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's still out there. It's impressive that he's been able to battle this whole time. And I mean, it's not easy to be a running back in the NFL. That's really impressive. Good for him. But they're at home, Donnie. They look good on offense. But here's my concern with the Bills. We could agree the Patriots might have the best cover corners as a tandem in the league, which is a big concern. It's going to be tough to move the football if you're the Bills. Donnie, Tom Brady, 30-3 in his career against the Bills. That's amazing. There's amazing things in this game. We've talked about the NBA, Donnie, where amazing happens.
Yeah.
This game right here, you go out in the parking lot, it's where amazing happens. The Buffalo Bills fan base, Donnie, is embarrassing. If you're a grown man.
No, come on. You should respect that. This is a team that's dying for a Super Bowl in a Rust Belt city. This is all they have, Jeff.
Donnie, listen. If you're approached in a tailgate by somebody that might be a pro basketball player and he invades your tailgate and is not there by request and nobody told them to be there and he swings at you, you have every right to hit him. But Donnie, these Bills fans, these are grown men jumping through fucking tables. Get a fucking grip on yourselves. If you put half as much effort into going through tables as you do in your regular life, you wouldn't be here. Come on, Bills fans, wake up. This is pathetic behavior. I know I'm in Philadelphia, but again, we're Donnie classy people. We know how to be fans. We don't jump through tables. We have a reputation. We don't need to prove one.
Look, in Philly, we eat on tables. We don't go through the table, Jeff.
Bills Mafia. Listen, Donnie, you know what the Mafia is? It's a thing of ours. It's an honor thing. It's loyalty. It's death before dishonor. This is a pathetic definition. Don't call them a mafia. They look like a fucking Boy Scout troop. Get out of here with Bills Mafia. But I do like the Bills. I love this defense. I think this is a low-scoring game, Donnie. I really do.
Look at that. By the way, I want to get, before we get in taking a look at SBRodds.com, looking at the numbers, Jeff, opens up 43-44. Jeff, we got 41.5 across the board right here.
Yeah, I just don't think the Bills move the ball, man. I like Beasley. I think Josh Allen's really starting to find it. I like the kid a lot.
Key to the game for the Bills, Jeff. What do you need right now? If you say, no, the Bills getting 7 points, they don't even have to win the game for you to cover. Yeah. But what do you need out of the Buffalo Bills offense? What are you looking for out of their offense today?
Well, I think it's going to be short, intermediate slants, things like that. Try to get the offense moving downfield a little bit. It would just be so nice to have Singletary, man. I think he could really help here. Bust off some big runs. I think the defense will keep him in it, and that's going to be the key, Donnie. Can this defense keep them in it? Can they get to Tom Brady? Can they make him kind of weary in the pocket? The key to the game, got to convert third downs. You got to keep this offense moving a little bit.
I'm going to give you a little yes or no question here because converting first downs, we know, and I'll say it every week on the show, Jeff, Josh Allen is a great quarterback when he's running the football. Long-term, terrible because he's going to end up getting hurt, but he's healthy this week. Over under for you in this football game, Josh Allen's rushing yards, 49.5.
I would say over.
He's got to go over.
Jeff,
if he does not run for more than 50 yards, the Bills aren't winning this football game.
And I think it's a good point by you. I think you're on borrowed time with Josh Allen. I really do. Because like Carson Wentz,
they're going to take shots. They're going to get hurt. Yes.
And he just has no real care for his body, Donnie. Like he'll go and he seems like a competitor, go out and get that extra yard. And that's going to be his downfall probably. I think Donnie, you're starting to see with this Patriots team and this defense starting to look real legit. Yeah, he's going to have to run for over 49.5 yards for them to have a chance in this game. But I think this defense is legit. I'm going to lean under though. I think this is 27-17, something like that, around there. It's a tough one. It's right around that number.
With no Eagles game today, Jeff, I'm excited. Like, I want to watch this game. Like, it's 41.5. Like, it's going to be a boring game. I love this football game. I want to see what Buffalo brings to the table in here. Is this the team ready that says, this is the one you have to win? Because probably later in the season, going to Foxborough, you ain't going to take that one down. You have to win this one if you have any aspirations. And boy, what a win it would be to make the playoffs and move to 4-0.
Yeah, no, this is I don't say program defining, Donnie, because it's an NFL team, but this is a franchise defining game for the Bills. If you win this game, they're not only legit, but Josh Allen is your franchise quarterback, which I think he already is.
Signature win. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is so Sean McDermott. It's such a big game for Buffalo. But
remember last year, Jeff, when they go in the one in the Minnesota when nobody gave them a chance and they won that football game. They've had big wins. Josh Allen's had a big win there. Yeah.
But Donnie, you would agree that the Buffalo Bills fan base is what the rest of the world laughs at. I mean, it's vulgar.
I love it. I love their fan base. I love it.
Donnie, come on. It's a pathetic behavior.
It's all they have.
And why do you love it, though, Donnie? Because you sit there and laugh at it. You would never do that.
Well, no.
You would never come.
No, I'm not going to do it.
I mean, Donnie, I get that
it.
if you're at Auburn University, that's fine behavior. You're in college. That's how college kids act. But I mean, these are grown men doing this kind of stuff. It's laughable. It's vulgar and disgusting.
All right, so we'll leave that game off, Jeff. We got a couple games to get through. We'll try to speed it up here. 265, 266, Tennessee and Atlanta. Marcus Mariota going on the road. A little bit extra time from their horrible effort, seemed against the Jacksonville Jaguars on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks back. But now they head into the Dome. And this is the one instance when I take a look at these football teams, Jeff, and we all know the monikers out here. You know, Atlanta getting points. All right, Julio Jones, Matt Ryan can get it together, but Atlanta laying over a field goal. Now, if we take a look at SBRodds.com, it's now officially a field goal. Pinnacle, -3, -118. Chris, -3, -124. DraftKings out of New Jersey, -3, -117. This line was hovering 4.5 in that range, which is now a little bit lower and more palatable if you do want to take the Atlanta Falcons. But, Jeff, early in the week, again, you got to get the better numbers here. If you can get over 3 in this football game, I like the Tennessee Titans just for the simple fact the Atlanta Falcons playing as the favorite. Look, they should have lost to the Philadelphia Eagles when the Eagles lost their entire football team due to injury. I don't trust the Falcons. I want the Titans here getting the points.
Yeah, I think when it comes to fraud teams, I mean, Atlanta's right up there. I mean, they're banged up, Donnie. Keanu Neal's out for the year. It's a big loss. This offensive line has some real concerns. At that Dome, they're a really good team. They've always been good, and you know they've always been formidable. But again, I'm not running to lay points with them. I think there could be some real cohesive communication problems with Atlanta. And one thing about Tennessee, you know, they love the run with Derrick Henry, which is obviously makes a lot of sense. And the short passing game, which, you know, communication issues, mixing things up, that could really spell problems for the Atlanta Falcons on defense. Again, if I'm getting points here, I agree with you. I also don't like Dan Quinn. He's not been a good team against the spread either. He's not been real good as a favorite. I'm not interested in the Atlanta Falcons in any retrospect. I mean, I guess with Julio Jones, you kind of get concerned and worried. But I got to tell you, I kind of like the Titans defense. Always have. They're always pretty good. They're always pretty solid. They always have some guys that can kind of lock you down. I'm going to agree with you here. I would kind of lean towards taking.
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a close football game either way. So if you're going to get over 3, I would lean that direction. It just always comes from that Atlanta Falcons, Jeff, playing the hunter as opposed to the hunted in that situation. How about a total in this one, Jeff? Looking at 46s across the board, 46.5 at some outlets in New Jersey for the total. Tennessee, it's another one of those teams, Jeff. When you think about football teams and who plays to the over, Tennessee to me doesn't scream like an over type football team. More of a plodding, methodical, 3rd and 3s, convert those, keep the sticks moving to me.
Yeah, totals are so tough. I mean, I really only have a few a year. I mean, it's just not something I really look at. I think Atlanta kind of struggles to move the ball. I think their offensive line is poor. And again, Donnie, I mean, the trenches is where you win football games in the NFL. I got a feeling Tennessee will kind of exploit that defense or that offensive line. And, on the other side, I feel like with Atlanta, Donnie, you would have to agree. One of the hallmarks of this team is all of a sudden their pass rush. I mean, Vic Beasley and Tack McKinley and those guys have actually looked pretty good. I don't love Mariota, and Ryan. I think he'll be okay, but I don't love him either. I'd lean under, but not real keen on it.
Yeah, not a fun game. I'll tell you another not fun game for me to break down. 267, 268 heading out to the West Coast. Tampa Bay is going to go out west to play the Rams. Take a look at SBRodds.com, Jeff. Actually, offshore, this line opened up at -10.5 at Pinnacle. We're now seeing 9s across the board, and also the total coming lower, Jeff. 50.5s and 50s, now down to 48.5s across the board. Talked about it ad nauseum this week in this football game. It's odd to looking at a football game for me and saying, you know what, I actually like the under in a Tampa Bay game because we know their defense not all that good. They have some weapons at wide receiver. Godwin's going to give it a go here, it looks like, for the Tampa Bay squad. But it just comes down to me. If I could get Jared Goff playing at a high level, this game would blow the total over at 50. Let's also not forget, Jeff, the Rams playing some pretty good defense right now. But it's the same adage that comes in. Do I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can win the football game? Probably not. But also, am I looking to lay almost double digits with the Rams when they're leaving a lot of plays out there on the field, Jeff?
There's a few things here about the Bucs that I don't like. First of all, I hate the Bucs. I think they're weak in a lot of positions. I think the running back group is one of the worst I've ever seen assembled. Chris Godwin, Donnie, I think status on him is interesting. You're figuring out if he's going to play or not. He's missed some practices this week. You got to go across the country. And I'll forever say it, Donnie, this defense exploited all their bettors last week. People bought in that this was a good defense. Against what the Rams do, I don't know that it's going to work particularly well. But I don't love Goff. If Goff could just be, as you said, just a capable quarterback. You have so many weapons. You should be able to move the football against a bad defense, especially in the back. I'll still lean with the Rams. I think they get the better of this Bucs team. And Donnie, the Bucs offensive line has had major trouble. Aaron Donald could have a big game here against a riddled up offensive line for Tampa. Travel's tough here. Godwin might not play. The secondary stinks. This could be the game where the Rams kind of show out, Donnie. I'm going to lean here with Rams laying the points. I think they win like 34-21, something like that.
269, 270, Jeff. Seattle and Arizona. Not the sexiest matchup out here, but I have a lot of points that I do want to make in this game. And just, I'll preface it by starting it off, Jeff, as we bounce it back and forth. I think Seattle's a real chance to step out here and really dismantle this Arizona football team, because looking at just the numbers and just the scores, you're saying, well, Seattle, look what they're doing. 1 point win here. They go on the road. They win by 2 points. Last week they get blown out at home. But there's a lot of differentiating stats and a lot of plays in these football games that really went against Seattle in this one. Opening up as we see the lines, you have 4, 3.5, now at 5s and 5.5s across the board, and over under 48. I like Seattle in this football game, and I actually think we're going to get some points here, Jeff. Just to start it off, what's some initial thoughts that you have on this football game here?
Yeah, that's a great, it's a kind of a great, kind of couple points there by you. I kind of look, we talk about totals. I'm kind of looking at this total and saying, I have some interest here. I know Seattle's not the quickest team in the world, but I think will employ kind of a situation where they'll attack downfield against a team that I don't think is very good defensively. I think it's been pretty clear that Arizona can't really handle it defensively. And what do Kyler Murray and the Cardinals not want to do? They're going to employ an offense that's kind of fast-paced, airing it out, going
8 sacks last week they had against them, Jeff, the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the issues as well. I mean, Kyler Murray and that offensive line, which is a concern because, again, throwing downfield is what I think they want to do and airing it out to, Larry Fitzgerald. And that's the thing with Donnie them. I mean, he always seems to kind of bail them out offensively. But again, do we trust Seattle's defense? I think it's obviously pretty clear that they're not what they once were. We've seen kind of a few weeks in a row where they're having trouble. I kind of deflect to you on this one, Donnie. It's not one that I'm real interested in. I think the Cardinals are a pretty bad team, historically here and this season so far.
Here's what we got on this game, which is why I like Seattle so much. Oh, going on the road, laying in division with points. I get all that. But if we take a look, week 1 is the one that you sort of like want to throw out because most teams aren't ready or prepared to play in football games. They still won week 1 over Cincinnati, but Cincinnati put up a lot of yardage, but also key points in these games. If you remember in that game right before the half, Jeff, Seattle had the lead. They give up that 55-yard touchdown with basically no time on the clock to Ross on a misplay by the secondary. But it gets worse and worse as the weeks go on. Week 2 against Pittsburgh, I thought they were the much better football team. Let's not forget, so they only won by 2 points on the road. But when you look at it, they were up 28-19, Jeff, with 5 minutes to go on their own 11-yard line and fumbled the ball, which the Steelers returned back to the 3-yard line and punched it in, I think 1 or 2 plays later. That's why it was a 2-point game. Seattle then went on the next drive, killed the entire clock, and won the football game. But the biggest one is last week, because most people take out of that game last week versus Saints, like, they got beat up. They're not the same football team. But if you look at what happened in that football game, Seattle actually played a pretty good game. Just in the first half alone, Jeff, Seattle was pinned inside the 5-yard line by punts from New Orleans 2 times. They give up a defensive touchdown and also a special teams touchdown in the first half. That's 13 points because they ended up missing an extra point in one of those. Seattle was also stopped on a 4th and 1 in the first half, Jeff, on the plus 41 going in. A holding call late in the second quarter, which allowed the drive to extend for the New Orleans Saints last week, which actually turned into a touchdown right before the half. Also, illegal defense on a missed field goal, which you're going to be off the field, turns into more points for the New Orleans Saints last week. Seattle also, just taking a look late in the football game, stopped on a 4th and 5 inside their own 20-yard line, which leads to points for New Orleans. If you take a lot of these plays back and say, if it just evens out, Seattle probably wins that football game last week because they totally dominated yards-wise versus New Orleans. I see this as one of those games as a get-right game for Seattle, coming in surprisingly healthy in this one. One of the worst defenses I've seen in the league is the Arizona Cardinals. They should have no problem moving the football up and down the field, and the tempo of Arizona should be able to force this play into an over. I think Seattle wins big in this football game on the road, and I think there's going to be some points here, Jeff.
It still blows my mind, Donnie, that Cliff Kingsbury is a coach in this league. It's amazing to me. I think he's one of the real dummies in America when it comes to coaching. And as far as Murray's concerned, he'll crash and burn. He's not good enough. You'll see. He should have played baseball. Yeah, you're right on that, Donnie. There were a lot of missed opportunities last week for the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Arizona Cardinals are one of the bad teams in this league.
No, I think they get on them today, because what I wanted to also go back and watch last week is what happened with the Carolina Panthers game and see how they approached it. When you're talking about you need a fast and physical front seven to disrupt that offense from Arizona, you're going to get a healthy Ezekiel Ansah. You're going to get a healthy Jadeveon Clowney, 2 of the best linebackers in professional football. They're not going to put up with that little speed option and run outside. They're going to have a game plan that's going to be ready, and I think that Seattle offense picks their number on the opposite side. Touchdown and more victory here by Seattle for me, Jeff. How about you? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're onto something here for sure. I obviously think that, as I said, Arizona's a bad team. I think their offense will start to bog down a little bit. That offensive line isn't particularly good. I think Seattle puts up a lot of points. I get the feeling this is like a 35-17 type of game, 35-21. I think the over has value here. I don't necessarily trust the Seahawks defense, but yeah, at 3.5, I think they win by margin.
Yeah, no Patrick Peterson still back. They should be able to move the football. Let's keep it going, Jeff. 271, 272, Minnesota and Chicago. How about this, Jeff? We open up at 3s, 1s, flat across the board right now. Just a complete fade right now, I would assume, Jeff, with Mitchell Trubisky. But then again, what quarterback are you going to get on the opposite side? When's the last time Kirk Cousins won a big football game? If we remember last year, Jeff, I lost money week 17. Hey, look at this. Minnesota just has to win. They could probably get in. Bears playing for nothing. The Bears smoked them in Minnesota last year. Now we're going to come back to this football game and see what's what. You saw a short week of preparation because you had the Monday Night Football game for the Bears. I thought the Bears played very well against the Redskins, but we can't still get over saying Mitchell Trubisky, can he win a big football game? I got to tell you, Jeff, I don't care. I still like the short number. If you're going to give me the Bears at home, -1.5, -1s, pick'ems, whatever it might be at game time, I'm going to lean on the Bears in this spot. Even though I think Minnesota's the more talented football team, you got to show me Kirk Cousins. The Bears have to win this football game. I'm going to take the Chicago Bears -1.
Let me ask you something, Donnie.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have as your quarterback, Kirk Cousins or
I mean, honestly, Kirk Cousins, if I'm being honest.
What weapons would you rather have, the Vikings or the Bears?
No, on offense, I would rather have the wide receivers of the Minnesota Vikings.
Are the Bears that much better defensively than the Vikings?
But I think it comes down to, just the place and time where this football game is at. Like, it's hard to win on the football. It's hard to win in the NFL on the road, and the Bears are stellar on defense. I just think hopefully Kirk Cousins makes more mistakes than Mitchell Trubisky in this football game.
And that's really the elephant in the room, Donnie, is Minnesota is a different football team on the road. They just are. 7-9 against the number over the last 3 seasons. At home, sparkling. But this is not a vintage Chicago weather game. I mean, it's still pretty nice out. But you're right. That defense is so good. Yeah, I think both teams try to establish the run in this game. You have two quarterbacks that are Mr. Magoo and Dr. Doolittle at quarterback. So I'm going to actually lean down under the total. I think 1st to 20 likely wins this game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. I think you're going to see a lot of punts in this game, field position. I don't love the playmakers in this game. I mean, not for nothing, Donnie. This receiving core for the Vikings has really struggled. I mean, they're not getting targets. Yeah. We know that the Minnesota Vikings love to, run the football. They have the highest run play percentage in the league. You also look at, Donnie, plays per game. Neither of these teams go fast at all. Both are under 60 plays a game. I think this sets up pretty well for a typical NFC North battle. 1st to 20 wins. I'll say 2017 Bears.
There you go. I'm looking forward to that football game. We'll have fun. 273, 274. If you guys watch ESPN this morning, you had a little bit of Minshew mania up there with Uncle Rico. It's always fun to watch. But now Uncle Rico's going to have to go on the road and play in a pretty tough spot today out in Denver. Points are going to be at a premium, Jeff. When we and you, we're big weather guys, right? Especially later in the season, it really matters. High windy conditions in this football game. Two teams are going to look to probably pound it out on the ground. It's hard to win on the road. Even harder, Jeff, for young quarterbacks to win on the road. I'm going to lean on the Broncos here. Now that this line also is under 3, 2.5 with some juice across the board, I'm going to lean on Denver pulling out a close victory in this one.
I've heard through, and again, if you're looking at weather conditions, you should not be just going on your iPhone and looking at the Apple weather. You've got to go to the National Weather Service. You've got to go to people in those areas that know the weather. Go to the smart people. Do a little research. Put some time in. Donnie, I've heard gusts in this game could get up to 50 miles an hour in this game, gust-wise. That is tough wind conditions. But again, here's the thing, Donnie, with weather. It doesn't necessarily ever mean much. Case in point, Donnie, last night, Wyoming University playing a football game.
50 burger, Jeff.
Yep, played a football game last night. You had really bad weather conditions in that game. I mean, winds were in the 30-mile-an-hour range. You're up in Laramie. You dropped 53 on UNLV. Just because it's windy doesn't mean much. Here's the thing, though, Donnie. Jacksonville, 52.7 plays a game. That's the worst in the league by a wide margin. They're very slow. They're very kind of inept at moving the ball down the field. Denver, they're not much better. They're a team that I think they go quick, but they're not particularly efficient. They're kind of weird with the ball. They run the ball a lot. I don't love Flacco as a passer. This is a weird game. Don't have much opinion on it. I don't think Denver's very good, though. I actually lean Jacksonville. I like Minshew a lot more than I like Flacco, surprisingly enough. I think they lean on the run game as well. Defensively, I think they're pretty good, even without Jalen Ramsey, who, don't get me started on why he needs to be an Eagle, but I know we're short on time. I'll lean Jacksonville.
There you go. Another last game of the night, Jeff, we could talk about 275, 276. Dallas and New Orleans, interesting spot here because if we're just looking at it based on offenses and production-wise, Dallas clearly the better football team right now with the Drew Brees-less New Orleans Saints, but that total doesn't play. That's going to be a tough home field advantage to overcome. New Orleans is playing very well on defense, but Jeff, if I'm going to get a healthier version of the Dallas Cowboys, offensive lineman intact, Amari Cooper's going to play in this football game, a nice 1-2 punch at running back now, Dak's playing well. It's going to be hard for me to take New Orleans just because it's hard to win in New Orleans. I think Dallas is the better football team, but opening up 3.5 threes, now you're seeing 2.5s across the board, and a lot of people back in the Dallas Cowboys, even though it is square. I think the Dallas Cowboys are the better football team, and I think they can win in a close one down in New Orleans.
Donnie, we've seen these situations in the NFL time and time again. I call this the UAB special. Last night, Donnie, UAB all week was a 3-point favorite. The quarterback for Western Kentucky's out. UAB's defense is so good. They're going to kill them. UAB loses the game outright and scores 13 points. Look, at the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys have played nobody. Fucking Ugats. They played 3 high school teams. This is a real defense with a good run group on the road. Listen, Donnie, the key for Teddy Bridgewater, just don't make mistakes. Get the ball to Kamara and Michael Thomas. Get the ball to your playmakers. Let them make plays here. New Orleans wins this football game.
All right, there you go. Wrapped it up on the card. Jeff, we'll go over a couple plays that we had on the show today. I'll still go with what I like, the Miami Dolphins plus 9.5 in the first half. And give me the double banger, Jeff, at 4 o'clock. Give me a big, easy blowout win with Seattle, and give me the over 48 in that football game. That's my 3-pack today. How about you?
Yeah, well, I want to make this again clear. I hate this card. I hate it. It's one of the worst I've seen in a lot of years. For me, though, I'm going to lean with the Cleveland Browns. I think their back's up against the wall. We got to see something out of this group today. I'll go Cleveland +7. I'm also going to go with the Tennessee Titans +3.5. I don't really get Atlanta. I don't get the love for them. And I also lean with the Rams -9. I think they take it to a bad Bucs defense.
We touched over 450 today in the chat box, Jeff. We're nothing out here without the chat box. Otherwise, just me and Jeff talking like we do during the week on a phone or a Skype conversation. We want to thank you guys for chiming in and tuning in to sportsbookreview.com. Always check out SBRodds.com, the single best place on the internet to get all of those line movements. For Jeff, I'm Donnie. Thanks again for tuning in. I love this Sunday show. Jeff, leave with something before we get out of here, brother.
I just want to make it clear, Donnie, you and I, we've been doing this a long time combined, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
When I yell at you, some of the chatters, I'm not doing it because I don't like it. I'm trying to help you guys become betters. I've made the mistakes of a lot of these things that we're seeing here. You're not caring about numbers, not caring about certain things. I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to make you better. I don't mean to come off abrasive. I'm just trying to help. Donnie, you and I have been doing this a long time. There's a reason we're doing this show at this time because we know what we're doing. Thanks for doing this. Happy birthday, man. Awesome, man. Thanks. Have a good luck. Good luck on all your tickets out there. Tune in next Sunday. We'll do it again right here on the closing line. Thank you.